During Trump's victory speech, he promised that this will truly be the golden age of America. You know, because things turn golden when the sun is setting on them.
The left is so eager to murder the United States of America. The sun never sets on the British Empire, but the left is here to block out the sunlight because of global warming, you know. They don't like nice days. They like nasty days. They're not on the side of good weather. Speaking of which, they're having their big climate conference. It started today. Hey, where are they having that, Michael? Well, naturally in Baku. Everyone knows Baku. Everybody always vacationed with the family in Baku. That's Azerbaijan in Central Asia on the Caspian Sea. That's where they're meeting to talk about the weather. And they're going to fix it. They're going to make it better. It's just that wealthy nations are going to have to be shaken down for trillions of dollars. And then, of course, the weather will get better, except it won't. But when it doesn't, they're going to say, well, that's because we didn't get enough money, because this is a massive redistribution of wealth scam by fraudsters. Extraordinary times we're in. Wah, wah, wah. Just amazing. Ooh, I'm telling you. And they call it COP29. COP29. It's like Kappa Feel, number 29. And they've got live updates out of there. The UN Climate Conference starts. And so they're very worried because President Trump was elected president of the United States. And so in Baku, Azerbaijan, where the talk is all about the weather, it's really about Trump. No, what's Trump going to do? Well, maybe he'll reduce the amount of oil that Iran and Russia sell on the international markets to fund their wars against civilization. What do you think about that? You in favor of that? No, they're not in favor of that. They're in favor of endless war, mayhem, climate shakedowns for what they call wealthy countries. Boop, boop, boop. COP29, how return of Donald Trump as U.S. president could impact climate talks in Baku. In Baku. You guys are in Baku, Azerbaijan on the Caspian Sea talking about the weather. I'm not really too concerned what you have to say about anything. I'm going to tell you the truth here. Nations gather for UN climate talks in Baku, Azerbaijan. The United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP, COP29, began Monday in Baku, Azerbaijan, a year after a historic agreement to transition away from coal. See, normally you hear transition, and it's they're going to dress like ladies, and they're going to sever their genitalia because that's their, I thought the word transition had been completely co-opted by the transgender Democrats. Isn't that amazing? The gathering, which started just days after the presidential victory of Donald Trump, is taking place as Earth is on track to endure its hottest year on record. It's been quite a nice year, hasn't it? It's been a very nice weather-wise, don't you think? Yeah, it's been nice getting nods all around here because the weather's been quite nice.
The Earth is on fire, and we're all going to die soon.
Absolutely, and that's your Democrat Party's message for 2024. So it's the hottest year on record for the second year in a row. That's what the Washington Post said. As nations gather at this year's talks, which are scheduled to run until November 22nd. I'd like to see the nice hotels and the villas that they've rented out for all this stuff that we're paying for. And you know what they're going to decide in the end? That we need to pay them more money. That's the final outcome. I can tell you, I'm not Nostradamus, although I did predict that President Trump would win 311 electoral votes, and he eventually won 312 electoral votes. I predicted 311, so I missed. I was wrong, but I was close. And now I'm predicting that at the end of COP29, on November 22nd that the conclusion will be that the United States of America has to give them a whole bunch more money. Shiploads. No, like boats. Shiploads. That's amazing stuff. President Joe Biden does not plan to travel to Baku. He's not going to travel to Baku. What kind of a leader is he? Isn't he concerned about the weather? And many other world leaders are planning to forego this year's summit. The United States has sent a delegation led by John Podesta, crooked Democrat, charlatan, and fraudster, senior advisor to the president for international climate policy. I want that job. You know, of all the jobs in government, I'd like Supreme Court justice. That's number one, I think, for me, although I'm not a lawyer and I haven't gone to law school, but I think that'd be the best job in the government. Number two, I think this might be the number two, because being the senior advisor to the president for international climate policy, that could be a riot. Boy, would you have long lunches every day or what? That'd be, and fly around on jets, polluting the hell out of the world. Go to Baku in Azerbaijan, get a hotel room on the Caspian Sea, talk about the weather. Weather's kooky, isn't it? Yeah. Think it'll be nice tomorrow? I don't know. Give me $1 trillion, and then we'll talk about it more, because it's a total scam, a complete shakedown, all these talks. By the way, we have reduced our CO2 output as no other nation has. We reduced our particulate pollutants put in the air going back to the 1970s by more than half, and our population has increased by more than 100 million. Our economy, the size of our economy, has doubled, and we've reduced our particulate pollutant output by more than 50% in the same period of time, because we're the greatest country that ever was. God, we're cool. We're amazing, aren't we? Everybody else just wants to hang with us, and we don't really want to hang with them because we're much cooler than they are. So we'll let a few of you in here or there and, open a restaurant, do some nice stuff. We're happy to have you. All right, now let's get to the Democrats, because as crazy as they are, and boy, they're crazy, and they're crazier than ever, I think. They, and it was just over the weekend, since we last convened on Friday, that President Trump won the state of Arizona, and that means that he swept all of the swing states. Every swing state was won. That they talked about all the key swing states that and Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania and Arizona and Nevada, and how Kamala's going to win all of these states and Trump's going to lose and it's going to be a drubbing. In fact, one of my greatest friends, and we met up actually yesterday on a rooftop at a sports bar for some cold beers and had a nice time. There was football on, and we were watching football and having a good time with lots of people, and it was great. But he was telling me that another friend of ours who's a Democrat and, a news guy, and they're hanging out in their tent a week before the election. And my buddy said, and the other guy, the lib, brought it up, and he said, so what do you think's going to happen in the election? And my friend, a Trump voter, he said, well, I think Trump's got a real shot. And before he even finished the sentence, he was being yelled at. You are delusional. When did you become an idiot? I can't believe that you would think that. Kamala Harris is going to mop the floor with him. And I think that they have not spoken since the election because you don't want to, just send a screen grab of the electoral map and don't say anything might be a good way to go. So how are my delusions working out? Because let me tell you something. You were shouting at me and calling me vulgar names and slurs just the other day. Would you like to revise and extend your remarks in any way? Because I would welcome your input at this point. With 311, 270 needed to win. 312. 311 was my prediction. 312 was the actual number. Isn't that amazing? And now the Democrats are scratching their damaged heads and saying, gosh, how could this have happened? How could we have been so wrong? But the pollsters said, but the news media told me. And I hope that eyes are being opened all over America, because these people lie all the time. I mean, if you ask them what time it is, and they give you a number, don't believe them. Double check it. There is a stupid old saying that people used to use in newsrooms. If your mother tells you she loves you, get a second source, right? Because that's an old joke in newsrooms. That doesn't apply anywhere anymore. And I think, for the most part, mothers don't love their journalist sons and daughters. How could they? But on MSDNC, they've got a dimwit by the name of Alex Witt. Actually, it's kind of fascinating. Did you know that her maiden name is Dim? Her maiden name is Dim. And you can see why she doesn't hyphenate, because her name is Alex Witt, W-I-T-T. And Alex Witt had a Democrat operative by the name of Seth Moulton on MSNBC. And they say, hey, Tuesday, the Democrats really had a big loss. You lost the Senate, which you had control of, still do for the moment. And that Chuck Schumer, the Lizard King, is undermining the Republican that has won the Senate seat in Pennsylvania. Chuck Schumer is refusing to invite him to orientation, to treat him as a senator-elect, because he's a Marxist and an anti-American rabble. He's a barn burner of a lefty. All right, so let's go to Alex Witt and Seth Moulton.
After the loss Tuesday, you are one of the lawmakers who've said that Democrats are out of touch with the American people, saying they spend way too much time trying not to offend anyone rather than being brutally honest about the challenges many Americans face. Then as part of that argument, you told the New York Times, quote, I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete. But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. I know that you have put out a follow-up statement. I do want to give you a chance to explain your comments, because you know they have faced backlash.
Now, this is your propaganda outlet known as MSDNC, and Seth Moulton, member of the House of Representatives from Massachusetts, and he apparently got in big trouble because he said that he doesn't want, you just heard it there, she's reading it there, that Seth Moulton has 2 daughters, and he doesn't want his daughters getting punched in the face by men posing as women playing sports against his daughters, and that got him in big trouble with the Democrat Party because they're all mentally ill. Maybe not all of them, just an extremely significant percentage of them severely mentally ill. So, Congressman, you're a lawmaker, you're a lefty, but you recognize something that is obvious, and a couple of them, after the drubbing, the shellacking that they took last Tuesday in the national elections, presidential and Senate elections, some of them are slapping themselves on the forehead with the heel of their hand and saying, I can't believe I've been advocating for men playing against women in sports and boys playing against girls in sports. I can't believe that open borders and all the gang members and the rapes and murders and the crimes and the taking over apartment complex and the drug smuggling. I can't believe that I've been supporting all of this, and my whole Democrat Party's been supporting all of this. Seth Moulton.
Look, I was just speaking authentically as a dad about one of many issues where I think we're just out of touch with the majority of voters. And I stand by my position. You know, maybe I didn't get all the words exactly right. But the point is that the backlash I've received proves my point that we can't even have these discussions as a party. I mean, the chairman of the Massachusetts Democratic Party wouldn't even return my phone call.
They're lynching each other. They are the party of lynching black people from trees, too, the Democrat. Keep that in mind. That's who they are. Seth Moulton is like, wow, even my own in Massachusetts, left-wing, radical, extremist, Marxist. It's Marxachusetts. And the head of the Democrat Party there wouldn't even call the congressman back because he said that men shouldn't beat up women on sports fields.
We've got to be able to have these debates, but instead we have a wing of our party that shames us, that tries to cancel people who even bring up these difficult topics, and frankly shames voters. This is the same group of people who told us to defund the police, who told us that there wasn't a problem at the southern border, who told us that inflation was transient, whatever that means, and who told us that Biden was just fine. And they're out of touch with voters. If we just listened to voters on all of these issues, they were telling us the truth.
Well, that would ruin the whole Democrat Party proposition, though. You guys hate the voters. You despise the voters. You disdain and disrespect the voters. That's what you are. You're the left. You're not liberals. And Seth Moulton, thanks for having like one brain cell. Maybe someday you'll have a second one, and then you can rub the two of them together. But you're a sad, pathetic schmuck of a loser. Wake up, wake up, wake up. These things have been obvious to any half-wit, like Alex Witt, who's a dimwit. For years and years, you guys are wrong about everything. Wake up. Could the fate of America's children be tied to the fate of our country? I think it could. Much like abortionists and the lives of the unborn, just 1 million or so a year, the left seems determined to snuff out everything else in our country but preborn. The good people at preborn, they stand as a beacon of hope and light for the most defenseless among us, preborn babies. Every day, Preborn's network of clinics helps to rescue, on average, more than 200 unborn babies every day, while surrounding the expectant mother with love and with God and offering free ultrasounds. Witnessing the miracle of life growing inside of a young mother never been more crucial as we navigate through this time of moral decline and decay. Will you please join Preborn in helping to protect the least among us? For just $28, you can sponsor one ultrasound and give a mother the chance to see life and choose life, not only for her baby, but for herself. An ultrasound typically doubles the baby's chance of living a long, happy, and prosperous life. To donate securely, all you have to do is dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or you can go online to Al Gore's Amazing Internet to preborn.com/plant. That's me, preborn.com/PLANTE. Go ahead, save a little kid. That's all right. Hey, wait a minute. One Democrat member of Congress, but wait, there's more. There is more with the gender dysphoria of the Democrat Party and shouting at people that know things that are obvious. The Democrat Party is an anti-obvious party. They've lost whatever is left of their minds. Amazing stuff. I talked to you last week about Georgetown University and other campuses that were putting out Legos and crayons and coloring books for the students because they're so stressed out that Kamala didn't win and sell them to the Mexican cartels, which is their ultimate dream. But now, managing stress during change, Biden-Harris State Department holds therapy sessions. The State Department for the United States, they're supposed to be adults there, I think, right? And dealing with war and complex issues. Now they're holding therapy sessions at the State Department.
I stand by my position. Maybe I didn't get all the words exactly right. But the point is that the backlash I've received proves my point.
Yes. Congressman Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, Gesundheit. He said that he doesn't want his two daughters playing against men in high school and college in sports, and he's being vilified for this because the Democrat Party is sexually dysfunctional and gender dysphoria is their bag baby. Amazing stuff. They should all go to Epstein Island where they could have therapy sessions like at the State Department. Again, these people at the State Department, just sharing with you the story out of the State Department for the United States of America, where they're having therapy sessions on Friday for the adults who are supposed to be diplomats and professionals and public servants. And they voted for Kamala, so now they're having mental breakdowns over there. Just amazing. So they got the transgender thing. They also hate the Jews. They hate gender, and they hate the Jews. Wait till you hear this stuff out of Columbia University and what the Democrats did in Washington to commemorate Kristallnacht. It was the anniversary of Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass in Nazi Germany over the weekend. And what did the Democrats do to commemorate? And what are the Democrats doing at Columbia University today? Because it's Veterans Day. Wait till you hear this. The Democrat Party has no business in the United States of America. I think it's time we expelled them. They should be, forget the illegal aliens. Let's support the Democrats first. What do you think? Now, we were just talking about Congressman Seth Moulton there. And he's called on the carpet at MSDNC to answer for what he said about women playing against women in sports and men playing against men in sports. And that's an outrage all throughout the left-wing media universe. On CNN over the weekend, they were talking about Seth Moulton, because he was talking to the New York Times, and it's a great big circle fest in a hot tub. The Democrats, the New York Times, the Washington, Massachusetts, their mental illness regarding gender and sex, and they're really just a complete mess. Maybe we need more fentanyl in the United States. What do you think? Just one possible. But on CNN, they had a guest on who's normal and sane and rational. And his name is Michael Singleton. Michael Singleton is a conservative voice, and he goes on CNN. He's African-American. I'm going to say that because that's all Democrats care about. And he was on with Abby Phillip and with a left-wing radical extremist Democrat by the name of Jay Michelson. Jay Michelson is the Democrat liberal on the show. And the news media is all spun up about this. CNN panelists engage in screaming match over Trump's, and listen to the way they describe this stuff, Trump's anti-trans ads. You mean defending women? But didn't you just declare him to be anti-woman, and now you guys are orchestrating a campaign that is as anti-woman as anything we're ever going to see? So here's the back and forth. Abby Phillip not moderating at all. Michael Singleton, who is a sane and rational person, stating what is obvious and what we all know, and a crazy left-wing extremist by the name of Jay Michelson.
I think there are a lot of families out there who don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish my explanation?
When you use a word that's a slur, I'm going to interrupt. That's not
fascist.
They're not boys.
Nazi.
They're not playing girls' softball. I'm not going to sit there and listen to that.
I'm not going to sit there and listen to that. And that's Jay Michelson. Don't call boys boys. Don't call boys boys. But they're boys. They're not claiming to be anything else. He's talking about boys in school. That'd be a young human male, right? And a girl would be a young human female. And these are identifiable genders, and there are only two genders here on Earth and throughout the entire galaxy. There are only two genders. I don't know if you're aware of that, but that's been established by medical science now. Only two genders throughout the entire galaxy. But Michael Singleton is trying to just make a point about girls being forced to play against boys. And this mental case, Jay Michelson, gets immediately in his face and shouts him down, doesn't let him finish his point. And Michael is like, I'm sorry, I hadn't actually finished my sentence. And Abby Phillip is a useless nub and has nothing to say about anything. CNN, because gender, honestly, you people, and the Congressman Seth Moulton, this is a battle between sane people and insane people. You can say, and it is also, the Democrat Party versus the Republican Party. And amazingly, the Republican Party represents sane people. Unsurprisingly, the Democrat Party represents insane people who are everywhere because they have miseducated and maleducated these people. Now, I do want to, since I mentioned it, the New York Post has the story and the Washington Post doesn't because they're fascists. And they're basically, would it be unfair to call them Nazis? I'm not sure. That's just part of the rhetoric of our political conversation. Columbia University, Barack Obama went there, didn't he? In New York City, which is full of left-wing radical liberals who commit a lot of crimes. Columbia University students plan anti-Veterans Day protest to honor, quote, martyrs, end quote, of the U.S. war machine. It's an anti-American, anti-U.S. military, pro-Hamas, pro-jihad protest group at Columbia University in New York City, where you pay $1 million a class to send your child there to come out a moron. Columbia University activists are planning a protest of Veterans Day, not on Veterans Day, but of Veterans Day, which organizers want to reclaim from the Israel-U.S. war machine in the name of Palestinians killed in Gaza. The sanctioned student group, it's an unsanctioned student group, Columbia University Apartheid Divest, is circulating flyers for the event set for today, Monday, Veterans Day, at the Ivy League School's main Morningside Heights campus. Veterans Day is an American holiday to honor the patriotism, love of country, and sacrifice of veterans. We reject this holiday and refuse to celebrate. A flyer for the agitator group event said, the American war machine should not be honored for the horrors unleashed on others, the flyer added. Instead, we will celebrate Martyrs' Day in honor of those martyred by the Israel-U.S. war machine. A day to honor the patriotism, love of country, and sacrifice of those martyrs. Martyrs. These are the martyrs that they're... Now, the martyrs are the Islamists who are suicide attackers who kidnap, torture, rape, and murder your daughter, your mother, your sister, and squirrel them away in their creepy tunnels like the troglodytes that they are. Campus veterans, outraged by the plans, are planning a celebration of Veterans Day at the same time to counter the antagonists. Now, this is what the Democrats have created in the United States of America, the Democrat Party. They're not on our side at all. And since we're talking about the Jew-hating Nazi fascist Democrats, you know, the Nazi Party was the Socialist Workers' Party of Germany under Adolf Hitler. And today's Democrats had Bernie Sanders, socialists, the Mod Squad socialists, the AOC and all the lunatics. And a couple of them are actual jihadis, too. You got your Rashida Tlaibs, and God, they hate the Jews, don't they? And speaking of which, our D.C. City Councilman, Trayon White, who thinks that the Jewish Rothschild family controls the weather and makes it snow, he won re-election in a landslide last week because the Democrats hate the Jews and they're pro-Hamas and they're pro-Islamic revolution and they're anti-Israel, and then they call you Nazis.
D.C. keep talking about we're a resilient city, and that's a model based off the Rothschilds controlling the climate to create natural disasters. They can pay for it and own the cities, man. Be careful.
That's right. Be careful out there. D.C. City Councilman, our nation's capital, United States of America in the 21st century. And then they call everybody else Nazis. And they have the pro-Hamas Martyrs' Day protest at Columbia University Ivy League School. I'd hate to think what the veterans on campus are really thinking, but I'd like to hear from them. Also, News 4, the NBC channel in Washington, D.C. D.C. kosher restaurant vandalized on anniversary of Kristallnacht. D.C. police, this is great because they're Democrats running the D.C. police, said it's not currently being investigated as a hate crime. Right, it is a rare kosher restaurant in Washington, D.C. This is not New York. It's not even L.A. Kosher restaurant in Washington, D.C. attacked on Kristallnacht, smashed out the front windows the night of broken glass, the Nazi thing, and then they call everybody else Nazis. But they say that could change, the hate crime thing, as they get more information. Char Bar it's called, a kosher restaurant in D.C., was vandalized, having two of its front windows smashed out on Saturday. On the morning of November 9th, officers were called the 2100 block of L Street, Northwest D.C., by a concerned citizen about broken windows. Officers saw the two smashed-out windows and rocks on the sidewalk. And maybe a burned copy of the Diary of Anne Frank. The mob of Muslims attacked the Jews at an Israeli soccer game in Amsterdam late last week, and dozens were injured. Scores were arrested. Wah, wah, wah. Now, they didn't break into the establishment. According to the incident report, the police, the restaurant windows have been boarded up now. Amazing stuff. Just the idiocy of people. That was my first reaction, said Michael Chelst, the owner of Char Bar. Like, really? You don't have anything better to do with your lives than to waste energy and time and people's money to do what? We're just a restaurant here. Well, listen, Michael Chelst, it's time that you started waking up because the left is here. And the Socialist Workers' Party of yesteryear has morphed. And now, while they call everybody else Nazis, what do? You know, the only kosher restaurant attacked on Kristallnacht, the Israeli soccer fans in Amsterdam, the pro-Hamas Martyrs Day at Columbia University. I don't want to suggest that Michael Chelst is a Democrat voter, but given the politics of Washington, D.C., the chances are quite good. All right, let's go. I haven't taken a phone call. In quite a while. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Sylvie calling from Waldorf, Maryland, the great Sylvie from Waldorf. Sylvie, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
So good to hear your voice, and happy Veterans Day to all the men and women who have kept us safe and free for centuries. And, you know, you talked about the Tel Aviv soccer team. Israel had to send 3 airplanes to Amsterdam to pick up the fans to deliver them back safely to Tel Aviv. That's how awful that riot was in Amsterdam against the soccer players from Maccabi Tel Aviv league. But, you know, Chris, election night, what a night. And, you know, I channel serve through the usual suspects, MSNBC and CNN and with my wine and everything. But I also go to Univision and Telemundo because I love to hear their take. They were pretty fair and balanced during the course of the evening. In fact, towards the end, before Pennsylvania and all the other last states were called, they were saying that it was a red wave, and that even the Haitians and Puerto Ricans in Florida voted overwhelmingly much better this year than in 2020, despite the fact that we had the dogs and cats situation and the joke against the Puerto Rican garbage, et cetera. They were astounded that Miami-Dade went for a Republican for the first time since 1988. But the funniest thing in Telemundo was that there was a reporter, a female reporter at Mar-a-Lago, interviewing people. Long-faced, you know, she was not a Trump fan for sure, and she came across a Venezuelan woman who was dressed in MAGA outfit from head to toe, and asked her, you know, why did you vote for Trump? And the woman says, well, you know, he's going to close the border, he's going to make us secure, and Tren de Aragua is not coming into the country anymore, and these gang members are going to be taken out of the country because the majority of the people that are gang members are animals, they're rapists, and the female reporter was just beside herself. You know, they are not animals. What are you talking about? You should take that back. They are not animals. And so the Venezuelan woman says they rape 2-year-old boys coming over the border as their trek, you know, to the border. 2-year-old boys are being raped. Do you agree that 2-year-old boys should be raped? And the female reporter says, and said, well, no, you're right. They shouldn't rape 2-year-old boys. Okay, I'm glad she agreed with that, right? But this is an example, you know, and also the Hispanic men going overwhelmingly for Trump too, you know, 55% to 45%, and how against, you know, not voting for 45% voted for Kamala Harris, but the women on The View are calling Hispanic and Latino men sexist, misogynist, women haters. It's not the person here. It's the dismal policies and the lack thereof of policies to help Hispanic and Latino families, because Latin America has had many women presidents, including Mexico. They just elected a female, Cristina Claudia Pardo, and Cristina Kirchner was president of Argentina for many years. We've also had Brazil. Countries like Chile, Ecuador, Panama have had women presidents. Why? Because their policies, they get voted in because their policies help the people. You know, the Hispanic, Latino men they really enjoy creating businesses. They enjoy owning businesses. And the only way that they can do that is getting help from the government, getting tax breaks, which they got before when Trump was president for 4 years. We tend to forget that Trump was president once already, and things were really, really good.
And Latino men like women.
Exactly. Family-oriented. They're not into the transgenderism issue, this tunnel vision of abortion, just the one issue. No. Let's create
and Latinx. Yeah, the whole Latinx thing. And we've got some audio on that coming up, too, as a matter of fact, Sylvie. Thanks for watching Telemundo for us. Oh, we can go back to the phones. We've got our old pal Robin calling from Perry, Georgia. Robin, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing now? Let me step outside because I'm in the doctor's office, and what I got to say is very, 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 very important because it's going to save the Democratic Party. And what I wanted to happen is that Kamala become the president as far as Joe Biden going and resign, and he don't have to leave office. He can become the vice president and have Kamala as the president. And she can implement all those changes that she wanted to implement while she was advertising for the position of the presidency. For example, if she want to get that $25,000 loan to those black individuals to open up business, she can do that. She can also go with the abortion plan, which she has as Stewart, trying to get started off. And she can also, with all the things which she can still do, and because the Supreme Court gave her complete authority. So make sure that we want to try to get her to get Joe Biden to go and resign, and that she will become president of the United States and carry only people a month and a half probably, but she can carry out those processes, and she can end up being the president of the United States.
Now, this is your plan to save the Democratic Party, you said at the beginning. I've got other people suggesting this coming up, Robin, so you want to stay right there.